In 338 BC, Philip II of Macedonia stood at the height of his power after more than 20 years of rule. Alongside him was his son Alexander, still a young prince but destined for greatness. Together they led the Macedonian army south, descending into the plains of Boeotia to face a Greek alliance led by Thebes and Athens, each vying for supremacy over Greece. By August, Philip's forces had reached Chaeronea, where the Greek alliance held a defensive position along the main route into Boeotia. As dawn broke, both armies deployed, with the Thebans and Athenians carefully selecting the battlefield. With mountains guarding their southern flank and the Kiphisos River to the north, the allied Greek forces created a solid line, protected at both ends. Philip matched their deployment with precision. On his far right, he placed missile troops to support the main force. Leading the infantry on this right side was Philip himself, commanding his picked men, a select unit of infantry equipped similarly to Greek hoplites but designed for mobility, wearing minimal armor and carrying spears between 2-3 meters in length. In the center stood the formidable Macedonian phalanx, armed with long sarissas measuring 4-6 meters. This wall of spears extended 15 to 20 ranks deep, creating an almost impenetrable line. Positioned to the left of the phalanx was another infantry unit, while farther left, Philip stationed a combined force of light Thessalian and heavy companion cavalry under the command of 17-year-old Alexander. This left wing also included a contingent of missile troops on the far edge. Altogether, Philip commanded a force of about 30,000 infantry and 2,000 cavalry. The Greek coalition had a strong lineup as well, with an estimated 35,000 soldiers. Their left flank was anchored by the Athenian heavy infantry, well armored with large shields, helmets, and spears, around 2-3 meters long. Although equipped to withstand tough combat, most Athenians were new to battle, in contrast to the battle-hardened Macedonians. In the center, hoplites from various Greek city-states stood ready, likely joined by a contingent of mercenaries funded by Athens to strengthen the coalition's numbers. The Thebans took position on the right flank, including the elite Sacred Band, a force of 150 pairs of warriors known for their unbreakable bond and fierce combat skills. As mid-morning approached, Philip took the initiative, advancing forward with his picked men, while the rest of his forces held their slanted formation. He instructed Alexander to stay alert, waiting for the right moment to intervene, a significant responsibility. But Philip trusted his son's tactical ability. As Philip's infantry approached, his missile troops moved ahead, launching projectiles to disrupt the Athenian lines, hoping to provoke an attack. Despite the approaching lightly armored Macedonian infantry, the Athenians held their ground. Once within 50 meters of the Athenian line, Philip commanded his troops to charge, igniting fierce combat on the plain. Though his seasoned troops inflicted heavy casualties, they struggled to break through the Athenian ranks. On the Macedonian left, Alexander took steps to protect his father's forces from isolation, advancing the center and left flank. This move exerted pressure on the coalition's center, particularly the Thebans on the right, keeping the Greeks in place and denying them any chance to reinforce their struggling Athenian allies. Hours of combat passed, and as noon approached, Philip observed the Athenian lines tiring under the intense August sun. At this point, he issued an unexpected command: retreat. The Macedonian right wing began a slow, disciplined withdrawal, luring the Athenians, who assumed the enemy was in retreat, into a chaotic advance. The Greek center now faced a difficult choice: to maintain alignment with the Athenians advancing on their left or to hold their position alongside the Thebans on their right. A portion of the coalition's center decided to move leftward to stay connected with the Athenians' advance. Observing the Macedonian right and central phalanx seemingly in retreat, they pressed forward, eager to confront what appeared to be a withdrawing enemy. Across the field, Alexander monitored the Athenians' disorganized pursuit. When a gap opened in the coalition line, he seized the opportunity. Leading the companion cavalry, he charged across the battlefield, signaling his infantry and missile troops on the Macedonian left to press forward against the Theban line. Philip's strategy had worked perfectly, drawing the coalition into disarray and exposing their vulnerabilities. With Alexander's sudden attack, Philip's main forces halted their retreat and launched a full assault. The coalition forces, caught off guard, struggled to reorganize. The Macedonian phalanx advanced, its wall of sarissas driving into the coalition's ranks, while Alexander's cavalry executed a hammer and anvil maneuver, flanking the Greek center and overwhelming it. In a matter of minutes, the Greek lines began to collapse. The Athenian forces lost morale, breaking away and fleeing the battlefield, leaving the Thebans isolated. Alexander and the Thessalian cavalry now focused their assault on the Theban flank, swiftly breaking their cohesion. Yet the sacred band held their ground, determined to make a final stand, facing both the Macedonian infantry and Alexander's cavalry. These warriors fought bravely, but were ultimately overwhelmed, with nearly all 300 members perishing on the field. Although the fighting was fierce and intense, casualties remained unexpectedly light given the scale of battle. Through this decisive victory at Chaeronea, Philip of Macedon emerged as the dominant political force, a legacy that his son, Alexander, would soon expand far beyond the Macedonian peninsula.